want us to kick off this session by looking at organization culture, right? It really is the bedrock of CX and EX. So what I'd like you to share with this audience are your thoughts on the responsibility of the senior leadership team and leadership in general in these organizations, the ones you have led, towards this agenda. So just really the responsibility of the captain of the ship and the top executive in shaping the CX and EX agenda.
Thank you very much, Angela. And I just want to start this by just showing you something. I want you to read my card.
So ladies and gentlemen, Exhibit A, this is Mary Mulili's business card. On the top right corner, it says UBA, United Bank for Africa. Then we have her name, Mary Mulili, and underneath her name, customer service. Only thereafter is the designation Managing Director / CEO.
Just wanted us to have that in mind. And again, that just didn't happen. It was very intentional for the group I work for. Even my group chair, the card would read the same. My group MD, the card would read the same. And it's a constant reminder as we engage with our customers, as we engage with our stakeholders, that customer service is our first role. When it comes to our board, and just looking at the way the board is formed, and even the ESCO, there's a standing agenda. And it's normally the first committees when we discuss. When I go to the board, I have to report on how I'm trending in terms of all the employee of satisfaction indexes, and also how I'm trending in terms of my customer service matrices. Any shift down or any shift up, I need to give details of what led to that and what needs to be done to improve or sustain that position. In terms of even looking at the strategy for the bank as well, and because we are currently now on the 2.5 year of the UBA Kenya strategy, we had engagements across, all the way from the shop floor to the board. And drawing and crafting that roadmap, we started with the learning pillar and people. Because if the culture is not right, then you won't even have any customer. And even the customers that you have won't even be happy with you. I know the other speakers who came earlier, they spoke about the role of training and empowerment. Sometimes some of the things that we take for granted, because we understand as leadership and what it is we are driving for the leadership, might not be the same understanding of the people who are doing this job every day. And bringing these conversations at ESCO and the board level is also to ensure that the suggestions that they are giving are also being implemented. Because again, if escalations are done and they don't see any change with the management or any need for agency, they will all stop there. And they'll stop giving feedback. And they'll be very disgruntled. And eventually they'll pass that to the customers. So I've been one person who has seen this work. Yes, it's a journey. But that constant learning and carrying this responsibility, not only at the CX staff themselves, but all the way from the board level to the executive management. My ESCO meetings, the first agenda of the business is customer service. And we look at the things that happened during the week. What complaints came in? What are the issues? Who caused that service lapse? And how can we fix it? Again, if you look at the customer service policy, it's also very clear. If anyone leads to the break-in, because again, the person serving the customer has to be backed by teams at the back. So if they don't enable these agents to do their work, then there are also consequences, and everybody is aware of that. And of course, when there's consequences, also there's rewards as well, because we have to also recognize the people that do well, and we celebrate them on a weekly basis, the stars of the week as well. So for organizations to thrive, this communication and engagement must happen at all the level with clear matrices in terms of tracking and just to see how you're doing as an organization. If my attrition is way off the industry, it speaks volumes. I can't compare with my peers, and I need to know there's an issue there, and I need to quickly address it to ensure that we serve our customers well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. I'll be making my wrapping up comments after we have heard from Joe. May I call you Joe? Sir?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So thanks again for the opportunity to come and share with my colleagues about the journey of customer experience vis-a-vis EX. Yeah? When I look back, say, for example, at Premier Foods, before I moved to Unga, one of the key elements that we put in place as part of our strategic plan is to ensure that customer is at the heart of everything that we do. It's outwards looking in. We have to know what the customer wants, and that drives our agenda. Most of the times we tend to want to innovate around, what is exciting for us from the labs and the research centers, as opposed to thinking, what is the customer asking and how can we be able to satisfy that need? And for me, to get the best out of your employees, to be able to go out there and give us fantastic experience, then what you spoke about, culture, is actually at the heart of everything that you do within an organization. Whoever came up with the adage that culture eats strategy for breakfast knew exactly what he was saying, because if you have a beautiful strategy but the culture is wrong, then your strategy is DOA, dead on arrival, before it even launches. And it's always been my endeavor to ensure that the guys I work with enjoy themselves. They love what it is they do. There are various things that you can actually do within an organization to help ensure that EX comes out. Employee, I've worked in places where when I knew it was Monday, nachoka kabla niende, okay. But I always desired to create an environment where when my team thinks about Monday, they're like, hell yeah, kesho ni job, you enjoy going to work. It's not the easiest of things to create, I must say, yeah? But it turns out it's just in the little things that we do, within companies, from your birthdays to your trainings to recognition here and there, to the little thank you, to put a smile on that employee's face, to be able to face the customer with a smile, and I'm happy to do that. Like Walid said, when even somebody just talks to you even on the phone, you can actually hear the smile. Yeah, and so the question for the leaders in the house today is, how do you create that culture where I am happy to serve? And it's not because it's forced, or it's because it's part of my KPIs or anything, or because it's written in my card, but because it's intrinsic. It comes from me, it's innate, it's part of the culture. So the question has to be, how do we drive an employee culture that creates an environment where I'm happy to go out there and serve the customer? That's what I endeavor to do every day as I walk in and out of the office. And if I can make you be happy to think about Monday with a smile, then I think half my job is done. The rest will sort on the ground.
So thank you very much, Joe and Mary. What we're hearing here is ownership must come from the top. And we have heard this over and over again, but today we are actually privileged to be in the presence of MDs, CEOs who are living this reality. Ownership must come from the top, and this even includes the board. Very inspiring. Now, during the pandemic, what emerged out of employee reactions and behavior was the need for leadership to move away from just pushing for results to living out empathy. So you, as people who are exemplary in this space, people who are showing real connections with your staff, how do you illustrate in your day-to-day empathy towards your employees?
Thank you. And again, if you look at the generations that we are leading, and I just want to break it down, we have in a lot of young people that are coming to work vis-a-vis what we've seen before. Like when I was in KCB, I was probably one of the youngest. Now, when I look at my teams, on average age, we are below 30. And this group of employees, the things that motivate them are very different. Again, they want to be recognized. If they do something or they do come up with a solution, they want to be acknowledged. Some of them, it's not even about money. And if you look at the space that we are in banking now, we are not even competing for talent with banks. We are competing for talent with fintechs. And if you look at the caliber or what this young generation are looking at, they are looking at not being micromanaged. Give me an assignment, I will deliver on it within my time. If I have to do it at night, I will do it. One of them, when they were leaving, they said why they want to leave the banking is they're tired. They can't just wear suits every day. And for them, that was a demotivator. So again, it's just understanding this generation and how can you blend it to your work environment to ensure that they perform and deliver on what it is you're looking at. Again, they also get tired of many meetings. Yeah, they don't want long meetings, they want short meetings. So looking and facing these two generations that we have, when you look to the leadership, people who've been in banking for longer, and their way of management is totally different from what the new generation is. And it calls on us to continuously look for avenues to train the supervisors of these young generations to ensure that they stay motivated, to listen to them more. They want results now. So if an escalation is brought to us, is to ensure that we give solutions, and where there are no immediate solutions, we commit as leaders on how we want to see, or the timelines that we are looking at to ensure that we close. So in a nutshell is flattening that leadership and reporting structure that we see within the young groups. So it's interesting time with young people who are very knowledgeable, even sometimes might have more knowledge than you do have. Yeah, and it's making them feel that they're a part of the organization. They're empowered to take decisions or to serve the customers that you're looking at any given time. So it's a new challenge, but a very much welcome challenge in terms of engaging with the employees as well. And also the other thing that we've done and to make them very much engaged is looking at things that we can do with them informally. Like for the bank, what we do right now, we have what we call Jogging to Bond, where we come together on a quarterly basis and do activities out of the office. Of course, with a tagged learning in there for these teams. And also within the smaller groups, having the weekly or once a week once 1 week in a month, just getting together in what we call TGIF, and a lot of those issues then can be brought out informally. And we've not only done that with the leaders within the ESCO, but we've also pulled in the board members once a quarter or once every 6 months, so at least to break those barriers and to ensure that there's seamless flow of information between the teams that we have and the board members. Not looking at me as a CEO or looking at, say, my board chair as a board chair, but actually the feedback can even go to those levels as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Joe, I know that you had already alluded to things like birthdays and thank yous. Mary, what I hear from you very distinctly, the CEO and the MD, as an example, must be in touch with the multi-generational dynamics in the organization. And being in touch with that is the recognition of how these different demographics interact, want to be recognized and rewarded, rather than a one-size-fits-all, which is a sort of a uniform approach that we have. So, Joy, I want to carry the conversation forward. How do you, as a head of organization, ensure alignment between the employee and CX agenda, along with the main or other business strategy, so that these very critical pillars do not fall off?
Thank you. In a strategic plan, there's a number that's been shared that we want to grow 5x, for example, from our current top line, 5x, or bottom line, 5x, within the next 5 years, for example. For me to get to that growth, then it means revenue has grown. When revenue is growing, it means I'm reaching more customers, or I'm getting more consumption from customers. I'm actually retaining and adding more customers, trying not to lose any customer for me to achieve the 5x metrics. And so it's integral for any business to ensure that the customers that we have today are actually get the best experience, because one of the most powerful metric for growth is actually referral by word of mouth or from the customer within. I want every customer that speaks about ourselves actually speaks positive, so that we can be able to bring more people into our customer base. So for me, there is no way you can delink customer experience to the achievement of your strategic plan. It starts with the customer, but for me personally, how I lead, it's the internal customer first, which means the employee experience has to be great. For them to give that extraordinary customer experience, for the turnover to be achieved, which is aligned to the strategic plan that we've put in place.
So thank you very much, Joe. What I see from this room is, as you and Mary have continued to speak, I'm very good at reading people's faces. And I can see people who are waiting for this session to end so they can meet you outside. Because I think the pain that a lot of people in this room have is, it's not that business does not understand that the customer is important. The translation of that understanding into how we work, then the importance that CX is given in the organization still points to a lot more that needs to be done. That said, if we look at, there are probably over 15 organizations that are represented here. And I bet you, if we had somebody from the ICX Secretariat just read out the names of those organizations and ask them to randomly, everybody in the group, let's go and search these websites. What are we likely to see? Customer-centric. The customer is at the heart of what we do. Customer first, and other such platitudes. So the big question, what do we need to do to move these platitudes, these statements from the website to the day-to-day embodiment of these values?
I think you're speaking about the DNA. And I think as I was listening to the conversations, even from morning, it got me thinking. And I asked myself, do we need to look at merging the role of country resources with country CX? Because you can see a clear convergence. And I like what you said about our websites. We have beautiful websites, talking about many organizations, just talking about that customer it first. We've talked about it everywhere when we do our strategy, when we interact with our customers. But moving it from that book to actually living it when you work in an organization. And I just want to use what Dr. Moses said, Dr. Kip Ngetich said, that you walk into a bank and the person who receives you is a guard. Have we trained these guards to ensure that they serve our customers, both potential and existing customers? So at least it gives you that point of feeling, even as you walk through the door, that you are being treated as a customer. And this will be translated by how people treat you. When you walk that guard, how is he receiving you? When you go to that teller, how are they engaging with you? Are they smiling to you? If they are smiling, do they mean it? And for us, that is the largest challenge as CEOs, because we need to engrave this DNA to be the heartbeat of every employee. And I won't name names. I want just to use an example of one of the organizations, and maybe when I give the example, you probably know which organization it is. There's one of the banks that collapsed. And when that bank collapsed, we saw a windfall of customers who are stuck. They can't access their money, but they're still obsessed with the organization. And that was very powerful. And I think even as we look internally, we look how do we get our customers to that level of being obsessed. But the way they are handled, and our employees are excited to even look for solutions. It might not be within their call of duty, but they are willing to go over and above to serve that customer. So for us to be able to achieve this is, one, to ensure that we give people the right training, to treat them well first. If you're a leader and you talk about customer service and you're not doing it as a leader, they know their customer will call them and tell, I've been trying to get a hold of your MD for a whole week. He has not returned my call or responded to my email. And I remember one of the organizations I worked in, and I remember somebody telling me, we see you people more on TV than we see you in person. So how am I leading as an MD? By example. And when a matter is brought to me, both by an internal customer and an external customer, how do I deal with it? So I have to not speak, but even set the tone by living it, and ensuring that the gaps that I see in the organization, I work towards closing. In banking, I'll give an example. Some of the things that cause pain or customer dissatisfaction is channels. Okay? You can have the CFC person almost screaming because of the number of calls they're getting because of that service lapse. When it happens from the leadership level, are we giving these teams the right support they need in terms of investing in the right platforms, in terms of solving, if it's technology issues, to be able to serve these customers? So it calls more on our leaders, more on us as leaders, to ensure that the decisions, the actions that need to be taken are taken to support the teams, because they can't do it by themselves. And number two, living it, and people seeing that you're actually living it, what we are saying in the organization. Thank you.
Absolutely. So to just wrap up these very, very loaded gems that you and Mary have just shared. Mary, for you, Platitude has to translate into action, and the action starts at the top all the way to the security guards. Everybody must own their agenda. CEO, MD must be held accountable. When there is fire and an extremely agitated customer, sometimes the MD can leave the perceived ivory tower and come down. At the end of the day, this customer is still owned by the organization. So walking the talk by leaders. So cascade the communication. Let the staff know what we are doing well. Let the staff know where we are lagging. Let the staff know why each and everybody is contributing to profit or service delivery or efficiency or any of the goals that the business stands for. And now to my final question for this session. We are seeing many shifts in industry in Kenya. Typically, in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, many organizations, whether we are looking at parastatals or whether we are looking at NGOs or even commercial entities, the captain of those industries was typically somebody who had done a stint as the chief finance officer and has now been made MD. We've seen very interesting and very encouraging shifts lately. So if we look at KCB, Paul Russo, HR director, has now came in as CEO. If we look at Scan Group, we have Patricia Idhao moving again. She was really one of the founding pillars of marketing as a strategic position organization. She's now CEO of Scan Group. Chair, can see you're smiling because you know where this question is leading. I am asking, today HR is enjoying the place of pride in the boardroom. Organizations continue to say that customer experience is the most important thing for them. So, on behalf of all the CX practitioners in this room, I just want us to end this session hearing from you and hearing from Mary. What will it take for CX to be given its rightful place in the boardroom?
You start.
I think it has already begun. And let's speak even from the organization that I work in. First, we didn't even have this role a few years back. And the role was created, and we said that because of the importance of the role, the person carrying that responsibility, number one, reports directly to the MD, not to another level, because of visibility of the issues. In the ESCO and in terms of how we are governed, we say that CX voice is the first, even before we go to the numbers. Okay? In the board, within board governance and finance, we created a specific feedback coming out of CX, and also for them to push the agenda for the organization, because without the customer, really, we won't get anywhere. And giving them that elevated view, even at the board level, is also to ensure that the agenda is heard and is acted on. So I don't think for us it will even take long. We'll even start seeing CX experts taking this responsibility. And I think, and I'll take you back to what I said, where sitting here, I've been thinking, do we look at how CX and HR, go hand in hand? Because when you're looking at customer experience, or customer obsession, you're not only looking at customer obsession externally, it begins internally. And I think the wheel has started, the tide is moving fast, and one of my biggest nightmares as a CEO, when I see a call early morning or a message from my head of PR and communications, first, you stop, you're like, okay, what is it? Is this something on Twitter? Is this something on, that is my largest nightmare. And for us CEOs, realizing that and the importance that CX carries, then it's just a matter of days. It's not even years. You'll start seeing that coming to effect. Thank you.
This one I'll speak from my heart. I won't use any sciences or anything. I think the journey to that claim has begun. And starting from the fact that we as ICX professionals meet to be able to elevate our positioning in the marketplace is a very important aspect. When I say you go for positions, in this world, you don't ask, you don't get. That's what I believe. And I've seen it as I grew in my career trajectory. And for me, it's simple. It's about positioning. It's about branding. How do we, first of all, our work as ICX board is to position customer experience professionals, to be at the top of mind when it comes to boardrooms. Yeah. So that's our work as a board, and that's what we continue to do together with the trainings that we try to offer, often online branding and all that. So trying to do the technical bit. But the question to you, how have you positioned yourself? Did you just wake up and say, I'm a CX person and that's it, that's my line of profession, and not deviate to any other angle? So I'll tell you my story, for example. For me, it was very simple. I knew that I am a CPA, a finance professional, but I wanted to be an MD before I turned 35. And I was very clear and I wrote it down. I said, this is my goal. So I'll ask you first, what is your goal? And have you written it down? If it's not written, it's not happening, period. Number one. Number two, then I asked myself, how do I position myself for that particular role? I'm a CPA guy. A CPA guy is an accountant, a boring guy behind books. How do I ensure that I'm out there? How do I ensure that I'm engaging people? How do I know about go-to-market? And I made it very, very deliberate to partner with the commercial team, sales team. I go to Soko, I understand the lingua. Somebody would think I'm a madman. I finished CPA, I do CPS. I went and did CIM, Chartered Institute of Marketing, so that these guys, like the Belva guys coming to the room, don't piga miki zungumingi, and I don't understand what is happening. But what do I mean by when I say all this? I'm saying, have you yourself made yourself an all-rounded person? And then I leave the HR, because people are at the heart of everything that we do. Okay? So for me, when I talked about leading with empathy and the heart and the mind, I am very clear. I am practicing my HR. In fact, I'm called to more HR things that I've been called to one accounting thing. And I've been called to tons of HR things. Why? Because I'm very deliberate, because I know who the key resource in an organization is. And so take care of that EX of your team so that CX can actually come to life. So you today, as you go back at the end of this session, I want you to ask yourself, have you positioned yourself for the next level of growth that you want to achieve? And what action have you taken to be able to achieve it? If it's about understanding finance, because you can't sit here, I don't think, are you a finance professional at all? You did finance, kumbe tuko wengi. But most of the times, if you get, say, Paul Russo today, he's a HR practitioner. But that guy, I've sat with Paul Russo, and Paul understands the P&L in out. And he doesn't have to know the business planning analysis stuff, the thick stuff. But can you be able to interpret your P&L and understand what the direction of the organization is going is today? You sit there and say, I want to be a CEO, but you're not claiming it. And claiming it is not just by saying and hoping Pastor Nganga will pray for it and it comes. You have to act on it. So
Prepare yourself. Be all-rounded. Finance for non-finance. Be able to sharpen yourself. You look at numbers like this, you know that these guys are playing games, or we're actually growing, or you can interpret it in this way. Look sharp in that room. Claim your position. And you will definitely be answer this question that I'm being asked by Angela today. Thank you.
Okay, let me just add something. And it's just practical. You sit on the live data for any organization. You basically get the pass of the organization from where you sit because of the feedback that you get. So how are you using that feedback in those rooms I've talked about, ESCO, board, if you've been given that opportunity to shape how the organization should actually go? You are sitting in such a strategic position because you know what the surveys, all of them, you are doing them. You are sitting with your other fellow CX members. You also getting insights from them. How you bringing that to ESCO and to the boards to shape how the organization should be. And that should be for you a very defining and unique component for you. I don't think there's anyone, because financiers will look at the numbers and see what, but you have more in-depth details of what is happening in the organization. So it's to use that information, like Joseph said, come to the board, to the ESCO, with how you are shaping this. And let's give an example. When I took this position, we had a role internally, and I interviewed a lot of people. And one of the young men who was in the CFC, call center, you remember one of the things that we were talking about, empathy. And this staff was able to bring out and articulate the issues he had seen sitting behind the desk and what we needed to do as an organization to cure and even move further. And for me, that was defining in terms of that interview, because this young man just didn't pick up the phone, solve an issue for that day, but he looked at beyond that call. What needs to be done to shape the conversation for the organization and to reduce that level of issues that we had seen. Thanks.
So I will now allow you 1 minute each to give your parting shot.
Thank you so much, Angela. And I think this is a very good journey you began. I think I missed when the chairman was speaking earlier, just to know how the organization has been there. But I think it's a very good move in having these conversations. For you, the challenge is also to ensure that you have more CEOs, because that's the only way we can have this drive ongoing. And for me, it's just to, from where I sit, is to challenge even other CEOs, whether in the room or not in the room, to take more keen interest in CX, because without the customer, without you, we won't be as organizations. And we appreciate the value that you bring in the work that we do every day. Continue being bold as CX organization, and to give us the feedback and the information that we need. Like Joseph has challenged you, the time is now. And it would be very nice for us in this country, for the first time, say in the next 2 years, to have a CEO drawn from here. I know a few of you, and I've seen the work you do. I follow some of you, and I've seen how vocal you've been in terms of the platform, and just carry on with the work. We appreciate what you do. Thank you.
I think my parting shot for today is pretty simple, probably even going away from the theme EX for CX. But to this last question that's really touched my heart. And as your chair, we'll work with the board to ensure that we elevate the status of CX within the country, within the boardrooms. But I want to challenge you today who is in the room. I want you to take your rightful position, to be able to claim it. If we don't ask, we will not get.
But before you ask, I want you to equip yourself with knowledge, with certs, with anything that you require, so that when you stand there, you actually bulletproof. So let's bulletproof ourselves. And I want, like Mulili says, in the next 2 years, within the next 2 years, we're actually celebrating one of us from here. I would want to be the one throwing the bash. Tupige sherehe tuseme mmoja wetu rise through from CX to CEO within the next 2 years. It's possible. You can do it. You have all it takes. There is no reason why you can't go for it. So go ahead and claim it. God bless you.